I think we're going to get started. Yay! I'm so happy that y'all are here. My name is Paige Battle. I'm the teacher librarian at Grant High School. And I just want to thank everyone, our students, student storytellers, teachers who are here, parents, our judges. Thank you for your patience because 2 weeks ago we were all buried in the snow and it took some scrambling to figure out what day could we make this happen. And luckily, all of the people who I asked to volunteer for tonight's event said that they were available for tonight, so I'm so happy that they are here. All right, so I'm thinking that most of y'all know how a story slam works, but just a quick reminder, our students tonight have 5 minutes to tell a story. It's got to be true. It has to be personal, so this is something that has happened to them. And they find a way to work in the theme that's been chosen for the year. So we decided this year on the theme of treasure. So you'll be listening for that tonight to see what does that mean to the 8 students who are going to come up here and share a story. So if you've ever been to a poetry slam, particularly Verselandia, you hear, that's coming in April. You hear this guy, Anis Mojani, always say, the point isn't the points, the point is the poetry. And the point tonight is storytelling, but because it's a competition, we do have to find a way to put some points on the stories. So that is why we have an esteemed panel of judges over here. And throughout the night, I'll be introducing them to you so you'll get to know a little bit more about them. And they have the hard job of putting points to these stories so that we can crown a winner at the evening end. All right, so before we launch into the stories, I want everyone to look at their electronic device and make sure it has been silenced. I am doing that myself right now. Ooh, I had my volume all the way up. All right, good thing I checked that. Okay. All right, so the storytellers' names on your program there, they are listed by school, but they are not listed in the order that we are going to be hearing them tonight. So I am going to, where is Lori? I hope I don't mess up her lovely fishbowl here. Lifting up the tape gently. I'm picking out a name. I'm not looking. All right. So, there's a ghost in our library. So today, March 9th, is National Popcorn Lovers Day. So I asked the student storytellers and our judges and some other volunteers, they had the choice. They could either tell me the name of the film that they thought was going to be named Best Picture at this Sunday's 95th Academy Awards, or they could just tell me the name of a film that they really loved a lot. So our first student storyteller, when I asked her, do you have a favorite movie? She said, Star Wars. And then I said, because I love Star Wars, which one? And she just said, all of them. And I thought, that is a very diplomatic answer. So will you please welcome to our stage, Guhar.
The story I'm about to tell starts in a country where no matter where you come from, you're always welcome. A country that has so many beautiful places to visit, but now it's becoming dark and empty. A country that has been in war for 20 years. A country that has no basic human rights to this day. Ever since the Taliban took over, they don't want any man and woman to educate, especially women, to educate or have jobs because they believe that women belong in the kitchen. And you probably guessed what country I'm talking about. It's called Afghanistan, where I was born. I'm proud to stand here and talk about my life, how it was like in Afghanistan, and how I ended up coming to the United States. It all started us living in two connected houses. One me and my family lived, and the other one my aunt, my uncle, and my great-grandma who passed away a long time ago. And we had a front porch that all my memories grew. That time, my dad was the only one working, and he had to travel a lot because in Afghanistan there wasn't much jobs. And me and my older sister didn't see him much. He eventually found a job in Afghanistan. He started working at Dynacorp International in 2003. He spent 11 years working there, leading him to work at American military bases in Afghanistan. He spent 2 months working there, and a bomb exploded at Dynacorp's Kabul headquarters, killing about 7 people. That time, my dad then told my mom that he was working there because my mom was afraid. And knowing about the bombing, Congress passed a law for special immigrants, for Afghans whose lives were in danger because they supported American efforts. And it was so bad that people who were educating or had education whose life were in danger. Dangerous, what I mean by danger, they get disappeared and they be beating them up till death. So my dad applied for special immigrant visas in 2012. Our case took 5 years for approval, and in 2017 we came to the United States. Coming to the United States was an interesting experience, especially the school system. Like in Afghanistan, when we didn't wear socks or when we didn't pay attention to the teacher, you would be in a big trouble. And what I mean by not wearing socks, someone had to see you wearing socks. And and here there's not such a thing. Yeah, you're free to wear anything you want. And yeah, on the first day of school, someone had to take me to my class, and I couldn't, because of course I didn't know where to go. And they were talking and talking, and I couldn't understand what they were saying because, of course, I didn't know how to speak English. And I was nodding yeah, of course I understand you, but in reality I wasn't really. And yeah, that's my whole story, and I want to thank you for my parents, especially my parents, my teachers, and my friends who supported me throughout my life to become the person who I am today. And I consider my dad as my hero because he did so much that I cannot thank him enough. Thank you.
Thanks for sharing, Guhar. I know I have a lot of treasured family members who've helped support me, and I can really see how that tied in. I'm going to give our judges a little bit of time to complete their scores, but I'm going to share with you the first judge I'm going to introduce you to is Jen Batchelor. I'm going alphabetically with the judges. There you go. So Jen said, I'm going to have to pick up the paper to read this response. hey, Jen, what movie do you think is going to win the Best Picture? And the first response was, oh, is that even happening? So I said, well, let's move on to the second part of that question. What is your favorite movie? So Jen said, trying to choose a favorite is too committal, but she is currently living by the principles expressed in the 1989 action drama film, Gleaming the Cube. So the Gen Xers in the room will remember that film. That starred Christian Slater. And she said it's a film that, oh my goodness, I can't even read my writing now, Jen, that it exemplifies a brother's love and skateboard justice. So if you have any skaters in the crowd, you might want to go check out from Movie Madness the 1989 action drama film, Gleaming the Cube. Okay, I am going to spin this again. All right. Okay, so I had to give some clarification from this next student storyteller because they said that their favorite movie of all time was Mulan. And I said, well, are we talking about the 1989 or 1998 animated film, or are we talking about the live action remake in 2020? And they said, oh no, I am talking about 1998. So here's a little fact for you. In 1998, Mulan was nominated for the Best Original Musical or Comedy Score. I think it was robbed because it lost out to Shakespeare in Love. Will you please welcome to our stage Shreya?
Okay. When I was little, I moved around a lot. 4 different states, 6 different cities, from mountainous Idaho to dry and arid Arizona where I was born. And since I moved a lot, I used to play this game with my sister where we pretend to be pirates, explorers. I loved pirates. The whole thing, the big hats, the feathers, eye patches. I didn't have a parrot, so I used this stuffed camel that could sing, and I would carry that around my shoulder, and that was my Polly, and I would feed it crackers. And my favorite part about being a pirate was treasure hunts. I made my parents set up so many treasure hunts for me when I was little. I loved them. And I remember very specifically this started when I went to this birthday party when I was living in Seattle, where they had these huge trays of like plastic rocks and stuff, and they let us dig around with our germy little hands and get out these crystals, like these plastic crystals, price tag label included. But I thought that was the most cool thing ever because I was finding treasure. And in my 4-year-old mind, I didn't register that they had like set that up and that it was planted. So I thought, oh my gosh, there must be treasure everywhere. I'm gonna find it. So starting the next week, I would go every day to my elementary school in the wet and cold Seattle, and I would go to the playground and dig for treasure. And that was always an adventure. I had my little yellow raincoat and my rain boots that would fill up all the way with mud every single day. But I would go without fail, rain or shine, and I would take my little plastic shovel and I would dig for treasure. And this lasted for months, literally months. I was so convinced that I could find treasure. I had this whole little set of area under the window. Every single day, I would dig for treasure. Without fail, however, I still couldn't find any. But I would still tell my teachers, I'm going to find treasure, until one day, as I went out to search for treasure, I found this little clearish white rock. And I was so excited. I only knew like gems by color, so I was like, I just found a diamond. Ignoring the Made in China label, ignoring the price tag, I ran up to my teachers in excitement. I was like, I found a diamond. And I was so happy. I took it home and I showed my parents, and I said, I need to polish it so I can make diamond earrings. So they dug around and they gave me a nail file. And so I'd already found my diamond, so every single day after school I would race home, go to the kitchen sink, take my rock and my nail file, and I would file away trying to get a diamond. And this also lasted a very long time. It lasted 2 moves until I finally moved here to Portland. Still with my nail file and my diamond. I lost everything else. I could care less if my clothes made it with me. I was going to have my rock and my diamond, my not diamond and my nail file. So that lasted for a long time until one day I was sitting in our new house in Portland at the kitchen sink with my rock and my diamond, my rock and my nail file, filing away, and I dropped it. And this is one of those big sinks that had a garbage disposal, and it fell in. And I looked down and I was panicking. I was like, oh my God, I just lost my diamond. It's like the most valuable thing I own. What am I gonna do? So bawling my eyes out, I ran up the stairs to my dad and I was like, Dad, I lost my diamond. It fell in the sink. And that was when, after nearly a year of searching for diamonds and finally finding and filing it, he finally told me, sweetie, it's okay, it's not a diamond. And my little heart broke a little bit because I had really thought I had found something. That's when I found out my teachers had actually planted it because the muddy little rain boots soaking all the way every day was not a cute look for them to clean up. So, unfortunately, I had to get it out. Well, made me get it out of the sink, which was a whole other thing. But that was the end of my adventure with that diamond. And the truth is, even though it really has no value, you could probably sell it for maybe 2 cents. It was, for a solid year, the most valuable thing I owned, which I think is kind of cool because treasure doesn't necessarily need to mean a lot to anyone else because it meant so much to me. Thank you.
Okay, so Shreya, did you dig it out of the sink? Okay, good. All right, so the next judge that I want to introduce you to is Kate Grandy. And there we are. So Kate's response was one of her favorite films of all time was Antonia's Line. It was originally just titled Antonia. It is a 1995 Dutch feminist film that was written and directed by Marleen Goris. And the film has been described as a feminist fairy tale. I know of this film, but I've never seen it. But after asking all of these questions tonight, I have a very long TBW list, which is to be watched. All right, so I'm going to spin. Let's see who's next. All right. So this next student, I don't know if they got the photo reference that I sent back to them, but their favorite film of all time is Legally Blonde. And if anyone's ever seen that, the picture I sent back was a meme of Chutney. Does anyone remember Chutney? And so I was just feeling like a kindred spirit. She's the person in the film who says that her whole life she has gotten perms twice a year. I don't have to do that. Mine starts to get really big when it rains outside. But I wanted to assure the student, yes, I got that title of that film. So please welcome up to the stage, Alicia.
Imagine a bathroom. But this campsite bathroom is no ordinary restroom. It is chalk, filled to the brim with bugs. Big bugs, little bugs. Mosquito eaters buzz by as big as a fist. Moths crowd around the lights. Spiders are on all surfaces and their webs are in every corner. Now for you, as I can tell, this probably seems like a nightmare scenario. But for me, this is a treasure chest. Where every year I look forward to our camping trip where I will spend hours in this restroom, carefully collecting each bug. Okay, so let's back up. I hear some groans in the audience. About a few years ago, I was grossed out by bugs just the same as all of you. But all that changed after visiting local museums, where I saw beautiful bug collections, from delicate wings to patterned backs, something I was totally grossed out by, turned into a piece of art. So because of this, by the time Christmas of my sophomore year rolled around, all I wanted for Christmas was bugs. However, if you go online, you can see that bugs are actually pretty expensive. So I mostly gave up on this dream. That completely changed a few months later when I found a dead bumblebee on my back deck. I realized that bugs aren't just on Amazon.com. In fact, with deforestation, there's actually less and less of them in the Amazon. Instead, bugs are all around me. So I did what any young treasure hunter would do, and I went to the treasure trove of information, YouTube, to figure out how I could pursue this hobby. It all starts with finding a bug, which you can find in your backyard, or when your friend frantically calls you because there's a bug and it's scary. Next, after catching it, which you can just do with plastic containers or bags, I put it in my freezer. The goal is to be as humane as possible, so this causes them to go to sleep naturally, so I can put household vinegar in there to anesthetize them. Next is the longest part, where I will spend hours bent over makeshift pinning boards while listening to Doja Cat and carefully pinning out my bugs. Finally, to this day, I have about 200 bugs in my collection. And what I love about bug collecting is every single bug reflects its own little adventure. However, if there's one adventure that stands out in my treasure hunting journey, it's when I was on a trip to Hawaii, as of course vacations are treasure troves of finding new insects. I was in Maui on the road to Hana, on a specific trail. Now, what makes this trail exciting, and which would cause many other people to quickly turn around, is that there were many spiders on this trail. About every 3 meters, I'd be walking with my mom, and I'd turn to my mom, and I would say, "Mom, can I catch this bug?" And she would say, "No, Alicia, that spider is probably poisonous." After that happened about 50 times, we were getting ready to turn around. But then my sibling, who was ahead of us on the trail, runs to me and says, "Alicia, you have to come with me." So we take off down the trail till we get to the very end of the trail. And there, on that sign which says "Turn around here," there is not just a yellow bug. There is the queen of the yellow bugs, a spider at least 2 times the size of every single other one we passed. So, I did what any treasure bug collector would do when their mom isn't there to tell them not to, and with a few false attempts, I finally got the prize of my collection. But the icing on the cake of this adventure actually comes to when I was bringing it home. Now, my mom also insisted that I let you know that this dead was long dead by the time we got to the airport. Probably. But as a law-abiding citizen, I carefully read every sign. And the sign said, "You cannot bring fruit through. You cannot bring plant through. You cannot even bring soil through TSA, because it might contain bugs." But nowhere, on any sign, even in the fine print, did it say, "You can't bring bugs." So that's how I brought my treasure home. So the moral of the story is, next time you see a bug, well, firstly, call me. But secondly, remember that one man's pest is another man's treasure.
Alicia, I want to tell you about a movie you might want to watch called A Bug's Life. I don't know if you've seen that. It might have come out right around the time you were born. I think she would like it. All right. Another judge that we have sitting on our panel is Matt Brown. And I asked Matt the question, and his favorite movie is a film, and again, I don't think I've seen this one, so it's going on the list.
It was all filmed in North Carolina.
Well, there you go. So I guess I should explain to our audience, of all the people in this room, I think Matt is the person I have not known the longest. I was teasing him the other day that we have been friends for 3 decades. So we met in North Carolina. I did not know that film that he loves, which is called All the Real Girls, was filmed in North Carolina. And when I was looking it up, I found out Roger Ebert gave it 4 out of 4 stars. So it must be really good. All right. So next up to the stage. All right. So this storyteller, I had to get some clarification on. I had to ask them, hey, you told me that there was this film you really liked, but did you know there's 2 films that are called The Book of Life? They did not know that, and so they were quick to point out that the film they were referring to was the 2014 American 3D computer animated musical fantasy comedy film known as The Book of Life. So please welcome to the stage, Emily.
Most people's story begins in a hospital. Well, mine did too, but really, it started in a music shop. My grandpa had his own music store in Lancaster, California. It was just a cute little store in a strip mall, but it had all these kinds of instruments in it, and I would always be in a back room, in a little playroom, a bunch of pots and pans all around me, and my mom would bring me wooden spoons from home, and I'd be like, I didn't know how drums worked, but I knew that my grandpa loved them. He was especially amazing with his fire red sparkly drums that he had in his living room. Every time I would come over, I loved going over there. My grandpa was like my best friend. Every time I'd watch him play his drums, I still don't know how drums work actually. But my grandpa was this big, huge, I mean like tall, fat, big Italian man with a big bushy mustache, and he was just a big guy. And he gave the sweetest, biggest bear hugs. And that was one of the top 3 things I loved when I would go over to his house. The bear hugs, the drums, and the food. But me and my grandpa would spend about every weekend together. I'd be there. He'd sit me on his lap. He'd bump me on his knee. He's like, oh, you're a good kid. Or he'd pick me up by my feet, swing me upside down, and throw me around and go, chicken for sale, chicken for sale. It was like my favorite thing in the whole world. You know, I don't want to be a chicken, but being a chicken for sale, that was great. But then I got older. I started liking Monster High dolls more than my grandpa. I was too big for chicken for sale. But I still loved going to see my grandpa, even though every weekend turned into once a month. But then slowly he started losing weight, which was weird because he was always eating or making music. And he started coughing a lot more than usual. He just seemed like not like himself. And then we all found out that he had stage 4 stomach cancer. Towards the end of his life, he didn't have enough energy to bounce me on his knee or give me bear hugs. But he would always tell me how much he loved me, how much he loved my mom, how much he loved music and life in general. He was a very lively man up until the last couple days of his life. I remember being in the hospital with my Uncle Tony. And he had his arm around me because I was crying, not because I wouldn't get to see my grandpa, because the doctors told me he looked too scary. But I didn't care, I just wanted to see my grandpa. But I knew that he got to spend his last moments with his wife, Dana.
And I'm glad he did because I know Dana gave him all the love that all of us could have given him all at the same time. You know, there was about 20 of us out in the lobby because we're a big Italian family. We were all crowding around in all the chairs. And when he passed away, I remember feeling really guilty because towards the end of his life, I wouldn't spend as much time with him because I was in my playroom playing with my dolls, my Monster High dolls. We were running around going on all these adventures, or I'd be running around in the backyard kicking around the dirt. But then I didn't feel guilty anymore when we were in his reception in Elks Lodge, and I was with all of his closest friends, all of his family, and his friends would give me bear hugs too, but they just never felt quite the same. While I was there, I realized that it was okay, and I didn't have to feel guilty because my grandpa taught me so much. He taught me about family, he taught me about music and food and culture, my Italian family. He was the closest thing I had to a real, authentic Italian grandpa. He was really kick-ass and big, and he gave me the treasure of life. He passed down to me his love of life. And I remember just his love of music and food. I have that now, which is probably why I'm dating a musician. But I'll never forget the things he taught me. The food, the music, the laughter, the chicken for sale. I'll probably do that with my kids someday. But I'll always love my grandpa. And I know my mom will always love him, and he will always love us. Thank you.
So Emily, I'll tell you, when I had to choose an instrument for band in 4th grade, I wanted it to be the drums. And they wouldn't let me. They said there were too many percussionists. But I haven't given up on that dream, and you shouldn't either. Because if you like women's soccer, we can go drum for the Thorns on the big red drum. So I'll meet you in Providence Park. All right. So, speaking of women's sports, our next judge is Jenny Wynn, and she owns the Sports Bra. And the question of movies, she sent back this response in all capital letters that said, everything, everywhere, all at once. And I thought, that's the exact emotion I had when I walked out of the theater the first time I went to see it. I have seen it 2 more times since then. So my money, along with Jenny's, is on the 2 Daniels taking home the Best Picture this Sunday. All right, our next student storyteller will be a student. Again, I had to clarify, which film exactly are we talking about here? Because when I said, what film do you think might win? Or what's your favorite film? They replied, Puss in Boots. And I thought, wow, back in 2012, I think that's when the first one came out, but now, this year, nominated for Best Animated Feature is Puss in Boots, The Last Wish. And they said, that is the one I am referring to. And I said, okay. And so together we have put our money on that film to take down Pinocchio. So welcome to the stage, Ellie.
Okay, before I tell the story, I need you guys to know 2 big things about me. The first one is that when I was around 7 years old, I moved houses. Not a big move, mind you, this move from Knott Street to Fremont Street. But this house on Knott Street had a terrible basement, like awful. It had concrete floors, and despite the fact that it was lined with drains, it flooded about 2 inches whenever it rained. It had rafters instead of a proper ceiling, and it had about 6 inches of space between the concrete walls and the dirt. The other thing you need to know about me is that I had 2 cats growing up. And one of them was named Cinderella, and she's inconsequential to this story. But the other one was named Tuna. And Tuna was kind of small and gray, and she had a white spot right here and bright green eyes. And the thing is that when you're moving, everything gets jumbled up. And I remember sitting at this Airbnb with my dad while we're showing the house, and him saying, "We can't find Tuna." And I freak out. Like, immediately I freak out. And I'm like, "You can't find Tuna?" He says, "We can't find Tuna." So we race back over to this house while it's being shown. And we, in like the cleanest way we can, rip it apart looking for this cat. But time passes, probably about 2 days. And it's time for us to move out. We've sold the house. So we leave our contact info with the new owners. And we say, if you find our cat, call this number. And maybe a day or 2 days later, we get this call on our phone, and I answer it, and I say, "Hutzel family, Ellie speaking." And this guy on the other end says, "I need to talk to Mark." Okay. So I go, and I get my dad, and they talk about something. I'm not sure what, but I do know that it ends with my dad looking at me and saying, "We need to go get Tuna." And I am so excited. I am like, the anticipation of is my cat okay is killing me. And I go, and I beg my dad to go like right now. And because I have a great dad, we go right now. So we drive back over to this house with this big wooden crate that we got from our neighbors to transport our cats in. And we sit in the basement in about 2 inches of water, going, "Tuna, Tuna, Tuna," for what feels like hours, until eventually we hear the quietest, like, I think if you moved a muscle, you wouldn't be able to hear it, meowing from the 6 inches of space between the wall and the dirt as my cat crawls out, and my dad races up to her and he grabs her and puts her in this wooden box, and we race back to our new house because we don't want to disturb the new owners more than we have. And we let her out, and she runs right into the basement and into this space between the wall and the dirt in our new house. But she's okay. She has now worked her way in and out of those walls hundreds of times. And it's kind of like we have unburied our treasure.
Hey, Ellie, there's a film you might want to watch that stars Taylor Swift called Cats. All right, the final judge on our panel is Stephanie Sheldon. And like her friend Jen, she had no idea that the Academy Awards were happening this Sunday. And so she told me instead that because she didn't even know what movies were nominated, she would just share that anytime she has to fly, her go-to movie is Booksmart. A perfect film for this space that we're in tonight. All right, our next storyteller. Oh, I'll tap dance a little. Okay.
Made them do math.
I feel like at this point of the evening, I should tell everyone what all films are nominated for this year's Best Picture. Woo, this is going to test my memory. Let's see if I can do this. Avatar, whatever the second part of that title is for the second Avatar. The Fabelmans. Top Gun Maverick, which y'all, I'm not going to lie, I think it has a shot. Tom Cruise, I hear gasp. I see shaking of heads. You heard it here first. Not saying that's my pick, I'm just saying he brought people into the theaters this summer, am I right? All right, Everything Everywhere All at Once. All Quiet on the Western Front. Somebody's going to have to Google this. Tar, yeah, I knew Tar. I feel like I can't say anything about that because it's Portland. And Mary's favorite film. Women Talking, Oh, The Triangle of Sadness. That was a crazy film. What are the last two I'm missing, y'all? Oh my. I said Everything Everywhere All at Once. Oh, The Banshees of Inisherin. Thank you. There's one more. There's 10. Did you not know that a couple years ago, Jen? They went from 5 to 10. What? Yeah. There's 10. Whatever number 10 is, it is much maligned. I cannot prove it right now. All right, I think I tap danced long enough. We'll figure out what that number is. Elvis, y'all! Oh, how did I forget that one? I got married in Las Vegas at the Graceland Wedding Chapel with an Elvis impersonator. How? I'm sorry, Austin Butler. Oh my God. Okay. Wow. All right. I'm all shook up now. Okay. Our next student storyteller. Are we ready? Yes. We're ready. Okay. So I asked the next student storyteller to share their prediction for the Oscars, and they admitted they had only seen 2 of those films that I just stumbled through. One of them being The Fabelmans, and the other being the one that they think will win, which their money will go in the pot with Ginny's, and mine is Everything Everywhere All at Once. So come on up, Nora.
My family has always been an adventurous family. And so 4 years ago, my mom decided that she wanted to go teach abroad. So we left the dark, gray, rainy city of Portland and moved to the hot, humid city of Ho Chi Minh, Vietnam. And with that, we got to have amazing experiences, traveling all around the world, seeing beautiful things. That was until February 2020, when COVID hit. And with COVID, the Vietnamese government shut down all of its borders, not letting anyone in or out of the country. So we were stuck. This leads us to a year and a half later, the summer of 2021. Now, all of you guys had been vaccinated, but us, we were searching for that treasure, looking for that vaccine. But even though we weren't vaccinated, my mom still wanted to travel all around Vietnam. So we went on a 2-week vacation to an island off the coast of Vietnam called Phu Quoc. However, that 2 weeks soon led to 3 weeks, and that 3 weeks to 3 months. This was due to a huge increase in COVID cases, which had the Vietnamese government stopping all transportation and canceling all flights. But it wasn't all that bad being stuck on an island. We got to swim in the ocean, play beach volleyball, play at the pool. But as the summer progressed, school started to near, and soon I was starting my sophomore year of high school next to the beach. This leads us to September 30th, a month and a half after school started, my dad's birthday. The day started out like any normal day. I woke up, jumped in the ocean, logged on to class, my mom went into the other room to teach her sixth graders math online, and the day was off. And I was in biology class learning about the carbon cycle, when all of a sudden my dad comes out and says, Nigel, our friend, who lives at another hotel down the beach, heard from a guy, who heard from a guy, who heard from another guy, that vaccines are happening today. I gotta go check it out. And so he jumps on a motorbike and drives over there. And I go back to my biology class, learning about the carbon cycle. So I'm sitting in class, and all of a sudden my mom comes out and says, Nora, I need you to take my class. But my biology class, you gotta take my class. I gotta go get vaccinated. So now I have 2 computers, one on my left, one on my right. One of 25 kids figuring out how to find the area of the circle, and my biology class. My mom is running around, looking for her passport. All the other adults in the hotel are looking for theirs. Finally, they're about to leave. And that's when the other families in the hotel drop 4 kids onto me. So now I have 2 computers and 4 kids, a 4-year-old, a 5-year-old, and 2 6-year-olds. I finally am figuring things out. I've given up on my biology class, told the 6th graders to just work asynchronously, and I'm hanging out with the kids. That's when I get a phone call from my mom saying, Nora, get your sister and get over here. You're getting vaccinated today. So me and my sister, we herd all the kids to the reception, and we jump into taxi. We're off. Soon, we reach the vaccination site. It's this huge banquet hall with thousands of people around it. We have to go look for our parents. So we're running around looking for them. I call my mom on my Nokia. Mom, where are you? Keep looking. Finally, we spot them. They're at the very end, and a long line of plastic stools. We go, we sit down in it. 2 hours later, we're at the front of the line. My parents are already inside getting vaccinated. That's when one of the nurses comes out and says, "Sorry, but we're gonna take our 3-hour-long lunch break now, so please come back later." I'm like, "No, we've been waiting 2 hours." So we sit back down. And I guess he kinda got the idea, because he lets us inside. When I get inside, I look around again. There are hundreds of people inside in 4 different lines. We fill out some paperwork and get into the first line, the blood pressure line. And I'm standing there, and I see some of the people are just skipping this line. That's when my mom shows up again and says, "Nora, skip this line. We don't want us to be sent back for high blood pressure." And so I skip that line. And the second line, I go up. "You have COVID. Are you allergic to anything?" No. Send me off to the third line. Third line, vaccination line. Soon enough, I have a needle being jabbed into me, and I'm vaccinated. They give me my paperwork, send me into the last line. In the last line, you give them your paperwork and your passport, and they ask you to wait for 30 minutes for observation. And so we're sitting, waiting. About 15 minutes into that time, I noticed one of the nurses coming up with me and my sister's passports in his hand. And he comes over and asks, "How old are you?" I say, "I'm 15, and my sister says 13. "You guys are too young to have gotten this vaccine in Vietnam. You have to be 18 or older. However, we can't take it out of you, so we're going to need you to wait another 45 minutes so we can make sure you don't die." So we go and sit back down. We're waiting again. About 15 minutes into that waiting period, see the nurse. He's coming back over to us. He comes up and says, "Actually, we're finally going to go take our 3-hour-long lunch break now, so get out of here." And so we walk out of there, being some of the first kids to be vaccinated in Vietnam and having the treasure running through our veins. Thank you.
Let's see, who am I telling on next? Aha! So, helping us out tonight behind the camera, when I asked our cameraman about movies, he decided to go with one of his favorite films of all time, which as soon as he said the title, I laughed because Frank Dadula is probably one of the colleagues I have known the longest in my 24-year career as a teacher librarian. And I laughed and I said, "Ha ha, it was the start of a beautiful friendship when we met, Frank." So, what's his favorite film?
Casablanca.
Yes, it is. And they show it a lot at the Hollywood Theater, and I really encourage you to see it on the big screen if you get a chance. Okay. Am I doing okay with... You're doing great. Tap dancing? Good? All right. Alright, I'm spinning them around. We're down to our penultimate storyteller. Alright, when I asked this student about movies, they said their favorite film was Fight Club. And then they gasped when I said I had never seen this film. I know. How's that possible?
Did you read the
Hey,
book?
look, I promise I am just going to watch movies nonstop over spring break, and then I'll get caught up on everything. All right, so please welcome up our penultimate storyteller, Ozzy.
Okay. 2 weeks before my brother was born, my parents sent me over to my cousins. This is what they told me. "Ozzy, you're going to have a baby brother, all right, but you're not going to get to see him for 2 weeks. But we're going to send you to your cousins, and we're going to get you a Lego." I said, yeah, what Lego? I could tell my mom was expecting a little bit more enthusiasm around the situation. Also, seeing that the highest compliment that I had given her for the past 9 months was a series of angry pregnant mom cartoons depicting her as a raging feral post-body with only ill intent. So when the Lego was brought up, I wasn't thinking it was a bribe to keep me subdued. I was just thinking of Jabba's glistening sail barge, a Viking-like space hovercraft, and a third no wait, 6th episode of Star Wars Return of the Jedi. So the 2 weeks went by, and that was fun, you know. And my cousin's parents dropped me off, and I came out of the car with an imaginary top hat and cane, and no shortage of bugle trumpets in my ears as I came to reclaim the family that I'd left behind. So I went through Tri-City Hospital, and I barged through the doors of room 515 to see my mom jacked out on post-pregnancy pills with that sort of artificial happy look like Tom Hanks in the Polar Express. And there he was, my brother. It sounded so weird to say. I was never the type of kid to have sibling envy. I was always in the corner playing with my Legos or playing video games. And all the friends that I had known who had siblings were spending all their time trying to get away from them. And I was definitely trying to avoid that. But over time, he had turned into a person. His name was Harry. He's over there. And he wasn't just some angry pregnant mom parasite. So, and I think the first time that I noticed this was when we were watching a Try Not to Laugh video, and this guy had done something serious on the screen, and Harry got up and turned it off, and he looked at me with a blank face, but I started laughing because I knew he was joking, because it was totally something that I had done. And that's why I realized that, like, he was my brother, because he had started to mimic me. I could see that he looked up to me, and, you know, he was mimicking my humor, and, you know, I just want to say sometimes what you value isn't what other people value, and as you grow older, like, things that grow into your life or people that are unexpected can turn into your treasure that you value most.
Thanks for being a good big brother. I'm a little, and I've told a lot of stories sometimes about my big sister, but it's always nice when you have someone out there looking out for you. So, Ozzy, whoever your little brother is, there you go. Okay, so another person who is helping us tonight is Mary Reckner. She has been keeping time. And I hurriedly asked her this question because the person who was going to be our timekeeper had a last-minute emergency. So I was like, Mary, what's going to win Best Picture on Sunday night? And she said emphatically, Tar, all the way. And I thought, oh, you did that with the same verb that Kate Blanchett had in that movie. So, I have seen that film. However, my money's with Jenny. Okay. And the Daniels, and Nora, and other people in the room, because Everything Everywhere All at Once just hasn't fun. So, but we'll see. Who knows?
That one too. I like that one too.
Stranger things have happened at the Academy Awards. All right. So, our final storyteller of the evening. Let's just have it pop right on out here. And I asked this student, what film is going to win or your favorite? And so they wrote back that their favorite film is one of mine too, Moonrise Kingdom. And I'll have you know that that film was nominated for Best Original Screenplay. It was written by Wes Anderson and Roman Coppola. However, it lost out to Quentin Tarantino's Django Unchained. Alas. But please welcome up to the stage, Maxon.
Okay, so this takes a little bit of explaining because my treasure isn't like other treasure. I didn't have to go looking for it. I didn't have to fight a dragon. I didn't have to go and search for gold or jewels. Instead, it was given to me before I was born by my late uncle. It was a 2006 edition Build-A-Bear that I named Bee. Now, Bee's looks are unfortunate. His hair is matted from years of me dragging him around and my little spell where I threw up like every day. His eyes are scratched so much that it makes it look like he has cataracts, and his neck's riddled with holes so much I would give anyone tryphobia if they looked at it just a little too long. But still, I knew he was supposed to be special. I watched as my family held him so close, like if they ever let go, he would float away. I loved him too. Whenever I hugged Bee, I got this weird, sweet, sappy sensation. It's kind of like if you made a love and guilt smoothie and then like just smushed it together. But once I almost lost Bee. I was 5 and my sister Aria was 3, maybe 4. I never really know her age. We're treated more like twins than brother and sister. But we were fighting like we usually were. Maybe I cut the hair off her Barbies, or maybe she ate the last cupcake, but I was mad. And we were fighting in our old living room, and in our old living room we had this big Scion futon, and behind it was this huge window. And in my rage, I pushed her onto the futon. I was fine. She was fine. I was super weak. But she fell right onto Bee. And I wasn't the brightest when I was younger. So I thought that my 3-year-old sister's weight was going to kill my teddy bear. And I don't know if you know this, but teddy bears aren't sentient. They don't feel pain. But I was dumb, and I'm begging her to get up, and I'm begging her, and I'm crying. Tears are running down my face. And the whole time she's looking dead in my eyes, and she's laughing at me. So I'm trying to pull the bear out from under her, and she just won't stop laughing. And the light from behind the window is making it feel like a superhero battle. So I'm pulling and I'm pulling and I'm pulling, and she's laughing and she's laughing, and her pigtails turn into devil horns. And I'm pulling and I'm pulling and I'm pulling, and she's laughing, and then I pull really hard, and Bee's arm rips off. Now, I thought that my 3-year-old sister's weight was going to kill my bear. So imagine how I feel having the decapitated limp arm of my beloved teddy bear limp in my hand, gushing, stuffing like blood. I am inconsolable for 15 minutes before my grandma comes running in with her sewing kit. But the fabric she had wasn't the right color, because Bee's a light brown and the fabric she had was a dark brown. So for a while he had this miscolored armpit that we called his hairy armpit. For those 15 minutes before my grandma came, I thought I could understand the way that my family felt about my uncle. I thought I could understand the grief and the pain that they felt. But now I know that that grief that I thought I felt for my teddy bear was just fear. I thought losing my teddy bear would be equivalent to losing a family member, but I don't have the memories of why Bee's special. All I have is the stories that they tell me and the sticky, nostalgic feeling that lays within his fur. So whenever I hug Bee, I'm connected to that, and that's better than any memory could be, because you can't hug a memory.
All right, so our judges are going to stick their sheets over to our math genius, and that's the last person I'm introducing you to tonight. Helping us at the math table is Mona Schreier. Telling y'all, the tellers, and so yes, now is the time to take photos.
Maybe the librarians could stand behind their
Yeah, we roll matching t-shirts.
Yeah, we've got t-shirts.
That's the best part, is matching t-shirts.
There you go.
You'll get it eventually.
Oh, yeah. I know, that's what we should do, is we should go there. Thank you.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Teachers
You
do
can do
this.
this.
All right, just tell us what to do.
All right. So, this year, our runner-up in a tale of a treasure that can wrap their arms around is Max and Peter. In a story saying that one man's pest is another's treasure. Alicia! And I want to thank our other storytellers for telling us about treasured grandfathers. Treasure of a brother. Treasure of gems from China. Treasure of tuna. And a treasure of the vaccine. Alright. We hope to get to see you next year. We're tentatively choosing February 29th and having a theme of extra. Yes.